Hello, guys. This is Alex Julian, or Aloysius Anderman here, with Radio Talk Show for tonight. And I give a toast to that with this Diet Dr. Pepper. I'm not sure if you noticed with American society today, but definitely we are on the verge of a milestone when it comes to food, in particular, foods to eat and delight in. You could see me already. I do love food, and I am big and strong, very much so. And it's because of the food I enjoy and the body that I have. But why do some people feel that every kind of food needs to be a sandwich and nothing else besides a sandwich? More and more people are developing the kinds of sandwiches that cannot be eaten without spitting something out. And this is food criticism here. Food criticism here. When it comes to me being a food critic and me commenting on food and me also discussing food, because this video is about food criticism. What does it mean to have a sandwich? Well, obviously, processing is required for there to even be a sandwich in the first place. Something must be really grinded up. Something must be smooth, like smooth peanut butter, for there to be something like a sandwich. But ironically enough, it's because of the presence of modern society and tastes and reasons that people have become lost in this um, temporary void where they really somehow assume that everything needs to be a sandwich. As in like ice cream sandwiches. Well, okay. Why? Why does there need to be an ice cream sandwich? Because I thought ice cream was just ice cream. You know, I thought ice cream was something you took from a bucket or took from a bowl with a little spoon. Do we really need ice cream sandwiches? Really? Ice cream? Ah. I could lose a little bit of a tooth on my radar. It's insane, to think of all these sandwiches, especially tacos. There are too many sandwiches and there are too many tacos. How do I know? Because just yesterday I was trying to eat cabeza tacos And I realized I needed to spit out parts of the cabeza tacos because parts of the cabeza tacos were more to be eaten by fork and knife rather than hand. So it was the kind of taco that I needed to eat with a fork and a knife instead of just picking it up with my hand and gobbling it down because I had to spit parts of it out because of bones and fat. That's a little spooky and scary when you think about it. Like, I could have choked there, and I almost did choke. I mean, because with the restaurant, which was Tacos La Villa, it's like, well, they sort of get the gist of what it means to have good cooking, but they do not have a mind to it very well because they do get very automatic on their manners. Artificial intelligence or use of AI gives rise to automatic manners, which are really just voids. They're not manners at all. People need to know why they do what they do. They need to know why. There needs to be more of a struggle by the people for people to really be aware of who they are. There needs to be something more imperfect about society. And well, definitely the tacos could be a necessary caution for those who are waiting in line for Tex-Mex style sort of food. But hey, this isn't Del. This is not Del Taco. This is not Taco Bell. Okay, this is Tacos La Villa, and Tacos La Villa has more of the desire to be like Mexico rather than America. And as evidence, I do have a hat in my hat collection that shows a logo for the Mexican flag in a black and white, which is really cool and political. You know, politics does get irritating in certain respects because politics sucks us in, and politics does not necessarily want to release us in any automatic fashion. And often we have this desire to do things just to live life and not have politics involving us. But then again, politics do involve us because we are there for the food, we are there for the water. As long as there is food, water, and survival, there will be politics. Because politics is about who lives and who dies in fairness of law and order. But man, too many tacos, too many sandwiches. You see, not every piece of food can actually be made into a sandwich. Not every one. Not every piece of food can actually be made into a sandwich in any form. How do I know this? Because I am a big fan of of liver and onions. I love eating liver and onions. And you know what's interesting about liver and onions? Liver and onions are never made into a sandwich, as far as I know. To eat liver and onions, I use a fork, I use a knife, and I chew it more like a steak rather than a sandwich. And I think with a lot of food in the food world should be eaten more like an open face, as in something without a surface, something without a bottom end, something that is not a sandwich, something that is just a whole, as in a whole goodness. And the reason is because there are foods that we can only eat if we allow ourselves to spit something out, such as peanuts, sunflower seeds, pistachios, liver and onions. You see, to eat liver and onions with fork and knife, I have to take the pits out of my mouth while eating liver and onions. Liver and onions contain the pits, and the pits cannot be eaten. So I take the pits out. And that is why liver and onions is not a sandwich. Liver and onions is um, a platter. And there are types of foods out there that eat like platters, such as country fried steak. Country fried steak, that's a good example of something that would be very difficult to make a sandwich of. It would be very difficult to make a sandwich of something like country fried steak. But on the other hand, well, sandwiches, does life have a law that says that everything must be a sandwich? uh, Now, McDonald's does serve sandwiches. They do. McDonald's serves sandwiches, but they process their meats. They process their buns. They process their food. That's how a sandwich is born in the modern age. And definitely, I think a sandwich would be impossible to make without processing. I think processing is required for there to be a sandwich, such as like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I mean, there are those machines that do a lot of production and everything. And we even use machines to make things that are not like machines. And it gives us the illusion of nature when there's still the machine being used to make something that is not a machine. And it's kind of confusing on that figure of speech to speak of it. But this is a talk show for tonight. A talk show. And I'm doing talk shows because I'm running out of fumes on poetry. I'm running out of fumes on art, and I do lose catch of my artistic abilities, and I may need to talk to myself with a talk show to bring myself back into order with my own art. But then again, my video for tonight is food criticism. And my food criticism for tonight is, why does everything need to be a sandwich? Like ice cream sandwich, ham sandwich, turkey sandwich. As if, like, turkeys were born with buns on their heads or something. Or that pigs were born with bread between their nostrils. Very, very weird indeed. Just what is it with sandwiches? Um, and and unless you could process some food item, do not bother making a sandwich. Sandwiches can be impossible to make without processing ingredients. I mean, you need processing done in order to make peanut butter, you know? Like like the inside of a sandwich needs to be totally in smooth, soft, and easy to chew form. That is how a sandwich is by the nature of it, or at least what we would believe to be the nature out of something that is not so natural. And I'll admit it, sandwiches are not really so natural as we tend to think of them as, because there is all that processing done, processing by machines. And hey, if you do not believe me, look for bags of jerky in the store. Bags of jerky. Maybe jerky like jerky of Carson's Grandpa. Carson's Grandpa is a brand of jerky around here in the Kern County region. And oh, I love to chew on jerky. I love to chew on jerky. I think jerky is a very interesting thing to gnaw on. You know, what is funnier than chewing on jerky? Now, jerky is an example of a kind of food item that does taste good, but you cannot, under any circumstances, turn jerky into a sandwich. You could turn jerky into a sandwich, but you cannot turn jerky into a sandwich. Because jerky is meant to be piece by piece, leather hard meat that you chew on slowly. Almost as if you're giving a bad tobacco joke. And definitely, I'll be honest, I do eat the kinds of foods in my diet that could be almost accused of smoking. Because there are types of foods that are so old fashioned that almost nobody thinks of eating them. But you see, that was my warning in that gummy worm video that I made years ago. After all, I mean, when you take the context of that gummy worm video, I mean, it's really serious when you think about it. I mean, Who on earth, who on earth would eat 500 pounds of gummy worms? I mean, can you expect a population of people to eat 500 pounds of gummy worms? I don't think so. I mean, I do not know anybody else who eats gummy worms except me. I'm the only person I know who eats gummy worms. And that was the joke I made with that video about gummy worms. We will bury you in Candyland, you know. Jeez. A board game joke as well. Yeah, because Candyland is a board game. But what about Sandwich Land, you know? Sandwich Land. As if, like, Ronald has ordered a following of sandwiches to march on from the decease of McDonald Land somewhere in the universe. You know? And in case you're wondering, yes, McDonald Land is dead. Yes. McDonald Land is dead. People in real life around me, they do not know Grimace. They're too young. Even I am at lost for words of who Grimace was, if at all. But then again, this could just be from my ignorance and from my refusal to watch TV. Often, I do avoid watching TV because TV could suck wit out of me. TV could suck humor out of me. TV can be frustrating to watch because it's entertaining to watch. And entertainment eventually does become frustration. Entertainment turns into frustration, and entertainment ceases to be entertainment and it becomes frustration instead. Because it gets into that sandwich category, such as, why does everything need to be a sandwich? Why does everything need to be a taco or a burrito or, you know? In particular, why does everything need to be eaten with our hands? Why do we need to hold everything with our hands and call it a sandwich? Like, would it even matter if a hot dog is a sandwich? Well, hey, if you put enough chili on a hot dog, you're not going to be able to eat it with your hands. You're only going to eat the chili cheese dog with fork and knife. Because then it gets into that fried bologna territory. Now, this is where it's interesting. There are members of my audience who do not eat the food that I eat. As in ever. There are people who never eat tacos. There are people who never eat eggs. There are people who never eat turkey. They never eat specific kinds of food. And so when my audience hears me talk about food that they never eat, it causes humor in them. It does, and I know this. I know this for a fact. Because already on DeviantArt, I receive false suggestions from DeviantArt all the time about my art. DeviantArt would maybe even begin to think that I am here because of my stomach, or I am here because of my pelvis, or I'm here because of my nudity. But guess what? I'm never nude. I always wear clothes. And I'm not here to be appealing in appearance. I'm here to express my philosophy, which is about ideas, not about my body. Although my body can be a part of it, sort of. Now, when it comes to the sandwich idea in question, um, it can seem like people have been so captivated by flavors, or people have been so excited about life that they are producing goods that they are not testing. You see, a lot of the mystery of life is like liver and onions. And that is because mystery is something that a lot of people do not experience. Just like how a lot of people do not ever eat liver and onions. Some people never eat liver and onions. And yet it can seem like everybody has a sandwich. Maybe some of my ideas can seem stereotypical, perhaps, but there's truth and meaning to these stereotypes that I speak of, because um, stereotypes do exist for a reason, because there are cliches and there are existences with reality in these particular elements. But yeah, a calzone is a pizza sandwich, and a hamburger is a steak sandwich. But now, if you take the words steak and sandwich, and if you try to combine them really quickly with enthusiasm, you're getting ahead of yourself. Steak is always very hard to chew. So therefore, steaks should not be made into tacos or sandwiches. Tacos are a kind of sandwich, they are. And sandwiches can be like tacos. And uh, the fact is, something like steak should not be made into a sandwich. And it's taken me a long time for me to say this about a sandwich. Sandwiches are there for soft foods to be consumed. If it's a hard food cannot be made into a sandwich because it is a hard food. Kind of like liver and onions. Okay, and you guys take care, and let my radio show be the talk show for tonight. Thank you for listening.